Welcome back to Pearl Treasure Designs, Episode 4, Chicken Coop Toys. DIY number 1. We are starting with our first project, a mobile ring for our chicken coop. And as we get started, I'm just getting a few things ready for us to begin. And this we are doing bits and pieces. I found these items at the dollar store and took off the existing holders and put paracord hangers on each one just with a simple slip knot, and decided how long I wanted them to hang from a ring that I also got from the dollar store, and you'll see that in just a few minutes. And so we're getting all of these things ready, again with slip knots and paracord. Slip knots again and paracord. I did prepare this with the paracord having to be burned at the end, so I made it as tight as I could so it would go through the small holes in the metal shapes, and then again to burn the ends to make sure that it doesn't come untied. Chickens are pretty rough on things. So that's 2 items for the ring. And the next item we're getting ready to start is for, untangling paracord. That was part of the problem I was having. I added some of these large wooden beads that were actually part of a buoy. I guess you'd call it a swag, but it was so heavy I decided to take it apart and use some items for different projects. So here you're going to see me getting ready for that. Untangling paracord. Yeah, fun. So just hang in there with me for a minute. It always is fun. So the ring I also got, I got that at Michael's craft store. And these spoons I got are plastic, but they have a nice shimmer to the end. And I'm using a heat tool to burn a hole in the end so that I can put the paracord through it. And it makes a little ting noise when, when your pet chickens or, egg layers are pecking at it. And it keeps them busy so they don't, turn on each other. So that one is done. And then I go into another part of the ring. I'm going to add another string here, most likely for the hangers. And you see me attaching it here with a double slip knot. And I do go ahead and burn that as well so that I can attach it without it coming apart while it hangs. Gravity is a fickle thing. Things tend to fall apart over time. So you want to make sure that you fasten it really well. And again, I do burnish the end. And I use these tie backs to keep it together, just as a double precaution. So here I am tightening it up there. And I will cut any excess string and excess plastic so that the chickens don't take in any of the plastic pieces. And I'm going to add 3 or 4 of these type of strings to it to hold it up. Now, I did try to secure it with the slip tie, but it being so smooth, it was really hard to keep in place. I probably should have used glue or something like that, but I didn't want my animals to be exposed to that or chip it away or ingest it. So I just decided to keep the tie backs there. It was just an added precaution to try and keep it in place. And you'll see me fiddling with it. I just wanted to see if it was going to work. And you'll see that I probably did not continue that because it was sliding too much. So you decide what works for you, and we're going to add more hangers to the ring. Again with a double knot, and we will secure that with a tie back. And then I will, once I've attached this, cut the tie back with a pair of scissors, just to keep the ends from having access to the chickens, because they are very active and they will peck at anything that is not nailed down. All right, and we are going on to another side. Another string piece. So I believe I put 4 on this one, so it will be nice and sturdy. And over time, exposed to the weather, you might have to go and adjust it, but it gives your chickens activities to actually be a little curious about instead of going after each other. So, you know, anything you can do to keep them busy and keep from being bored, you know, because they do need activity, believe it or not. And you'll be surprised at how effective this can be. It's a nice distraction in the coop. And again, the 4th tie back, double knotted, and I will secure this once again with a plastic tie back. And once these are secure, you want to make sure that all of your loose parts are trimmed back, and especially the paracord, so it does not fray. So you'll see me getting the lighter here and just making sure that it's sealed. And I did forget to cut one of those things, but that did get trimmed at the end or before I went on. So there we go. And I am adding the hanging mobile or mobile pieces to the ring. These will swing around in different parts of the ring, so we will have to keep an eye on that over time, like as I said before. But it should be pretty sturdy because paracord is not as prone to disintegration with the elements as is rope or polycord or even cotton. It will last quite a bit longer than any of your other staples that you might find at your hardware store. Now the tie backs you can get multi-packs at the dollar store or at your local hardware store. Once again, we're just adding those embellishments that we had prepared earlier and making sure that these are secure. Tie backs are wonderful. I did do this on each and every single string that I added to the chicken mobile. And again, it just makes sure that your animals are safe and that they're not ingesting parts that could come loose over time. And now we're on to DIY number 2. we are going ahead and we are making a hen swing. This swing is actually a small shelf that I did find at the dollar store. And as we go through this process, you'll see that I had already burnished openings. The holes in the wood weren't quite as large as I wanted them to. So I wanted to make sure that they were wide enough to accept the paracord. So you'll see that I'm getting that prepared, ready to go. And because the roof of my coop is pretty tall, it's probably 6 feet, I wanted to make sure I had at least 4.5 feet of paracord for each string that is holding the swing up. Now you'll notice too, I was having such a time with this paracord. The paracord from the dollar store does tend to tangle when you open it up. So be mindful of that, and it may be helpful if you untangle it prior to your projects. I have several cats and they enjoy playing with it, so I have to be careful with that. So this is going to take just a minute here to get that ready. And if your ends fray too much, make sure you cut them off and give it a nice clean burn end, and then squeeze it together to make sure it will go through those prepared holes in the swing bottom. So that's what you'll see me doing there, is I'm tapping it to make sure it's narrow enough to go through the swing holes. And I am using a pair of tweezers to help me with that, to allow it to go through. It does take a little bit of pressure because it is about the same size. It's a tiny bit, the swing holes are a tiny bit bigger, and you'll see me needing to make it a little tiny bit larger so that I can get that paracord through without fraying the ends. Now with that done, you can see I'm already preparing to put that paracord through the swing, and we will attach that with just a slip knot. And we'll get to that in just a minute. So I am using a pair of bent tweezers from my scrapbooking supplies. So you may need to have some tools available for that, just in case it doesn't go as smoothly as you anticipate, but it will help you in the end getting everything through. And I'm going to attach this again with just a double slip knot. If the knot is not large enough, I will do it twice. Otherwise, we're going to go all the way to the end of that paracord and make sure that it's nice and snug. I burned the end of that again just to make sure that it is secure and that nothing is going to come loose when the swing is hung. And we'll do this for all 4 holes that are here. So I'm going to let that play and you'll get to see what I've done for each one of these holes. Fantastic. Now we're on to DIY number 3. This is a very easy project. We are doing a beaded string hanger, and I took some of those wooden beads and proceeded to make a hanging bead toy, basically. They are made of wood and they are already pre-painted. So you didn't have to worry about, having to sit there and paint everything. They already came prepared for that. And literally, I prepared the end, burned the end to keep it from fraying, and beaded one bead at a time through the paracord. And once you do this, after you have placed the bead onto the paracord, as you can see there, they're very easy, usually, to string through. Once you decide the length between each one, you want to do another slip knot. That way they don't just hang one on top of the other. You can space them out. And I do have 4 beads that I am placing on this one project. Again, a slip knot, and the 3rd bead will be placed on the paracord. And once we have this, you will get to see the final reveal coming up. Get ready for that final reveal. Here we go.